Hello friends, I am Professor Smita Jha from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, and today we are going to discuss MLA 9 documentation and formatting under the head title Research Methodology in Humanities and Social Sciences. We all know that there is a format for every research, and mostly humanities people, they follow MLA 9, though APA and Chicago style they are there in social sciences. Some of the humanities paper also follow APA and Chicago style. So let us see the MLA documentation, which is essential for humanities people. When you are borrowing information from a source and placing it in your research or assigning, it is important to give credit to the original author. This is done by creating an MLA citation depending on the type of information you are including in your works. Citation are placed in the body of your project and all are included in a work cited list at the end of your project. Now, there are a few major formatting styles used in academic text. AMA, that is the American Medical Association for Medicine, Health and Biological Sciences. APA, American Psychological Association for Education, Psychology and the Social Sciences. Chicago, a common style used in everyday publications like magazines, newspaper and books. MLA, Modern Language Association for English Literature, Arts and Humanities. Turabian, another common style designed for its universal application across all subjects and discipline. Now, MLA, Modern Language Association, is a style of documentation that may be applied to many different types of writing. Since texts have become increasingly digital and the same document may often be found in several sources, rigid rules no longer suffice. MLA stands for Modern Language Association, which is an organization that focuses on language and literature. The Modern Language Association updated its style manual in April 2021. The MLA handbook is a living document that hopes to meet writers' ever-changing needs while creating uniform standards for documentation. MLA seeks to build trust in the information and ideas we share by updating and clarifying these standards. By helping to express our ideas in a standard way in which a variety of readers can understand where we found our information and how we chose to express our own ideas, MLA hopes that in an age of mistrust on information, researchers can use their standards to legitimize their writing. This 9th edition focuses on clarification, guidance and expansion on MLA 8, an edition that featured extensive changes. The use of core elements for works cited was designed to be more user-friendly with built-in flexibility that allows writers to cite their sources in ways that works best for their specific projects. MLA 9, however, provides more guidance and focus for those seeking it after the last update, especially warranted with emerging sources, digital and otherwise, while retaining the overall system of core elements for documentation of MLA 8. MLA 9 responds to feedback asking for clarification and expansion on the meaning of each category. First, author; second, title of source; third, title of container; fourth, contributor; fifth, version; sixth, number; seventh, publisher; eighth, publication date; ninth, location in different contexts of documentation. The MLA 9 was designed so that the core element strategy will become even more accessible through more examples and explanations such as how to use notes, website interviews and YouTube videos. Characteristics of MLA 9th editions are a deeper dive into text citation, a category many users expressed a struggle with. Second, reintroduction of MLA guidance on research papers absent in MLA 8 with expanded instructions. A new chapter on inclusive language, expanded guidelines on grammar mechanics. General formatting guidance has remained consistent from MLA 7, while this edition expands upon table illustration and list formatting. Updates have been provided on spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and use of italics in prose. MLA 9 confirms that various spellings are acceptable but must be used consistently except in quotations from another text. It also provides guidance on using plurals correctly. It provides in-depth examples of the correct and incorrect uses of commas, colons, dashes, and parentheses, hyphens, apostrophes, and slashes. The chapter also asserts the use of italics for emphasis, word references, letters referred to as letter, and foreign words. Finally, MLA provides an extensive example of how to correctly format names of persons, organizations, or groups, titles of works, and numbers into your writing. While including URL in a citation, then HTTP and HTTPS should be omitted for the website address, like the slash and HTTPs. Additionally, if you are creating a citation that will be read on a digital device, it is useful to make the URL clickable so that readers can directly access the sources themselves. The new chapter on inclusive language recommends focusing on relevance, precision, respectfulness, thoughtfulness, and awareness of exclusionary pronouns, judgment, and offensive terms. Through these general principles, writers are encouraged to think critically about their language, context, and audiences. It also focuses on recognizing and avoiding plagiarism through quoting, paraphrasing, and identifying when documentation is optional. It expands beyond common knowledge as a reason for omitting documentation and introduces passing mention, allusion, and epigraphs. Works cited guidance is one of the most widely used elements of the MLA handbook. Appropriately, this section features the most update responsive to users seeking more guidance, details, and examples on the aforementioned MLA 8 overall that introduce the core element template. Consequently, each element is defined, including the range of situations it applies to. There is also guidance on how to find information such as publication in a variety of sources. Finally, more advice is given on how to style details of these elements in a work cited. Author, how to cite pseudonyms, name changes, and stage names. How to cite works by the same author published under different names, and how to style the names of author of government publication. Title of source, how to provide a description instead of a title. How to effective and appropriately shorten a title. How to list title and untitled front and back information such as introduction, foreword, and afterword, and how to use mechanics to correctly style titles of various sources including website containers, apps, and database. Other contributors, how to distinguish between key and other contributors, and how to document a source with multiple same role contributors. Version, how to identify the version in various types of work including e-book. Number, how to find number in various work such as books, prior journals, database articles, PDF journal articles, television shows, and podcast. How to style number through form, spell out numerals, numbers, and mechanics within the works cited page. Now, if we talk of publisher, then the question comes how to identify what constitutes a publisher, how to list governmental agencies and non-governmental organization, and how to abbreviate publishers' names. Publication date invites like question like how to identify what constitute non-traditional date types such as personal rental, revision of online works, attendance of live events, and the level forthcoming for works yet to be published dictates to lowercase session with publication date, for example, fall 2021. If we talk of location, how to find location in print, online, unique works viewed or heard firsthand, and physical media other than print works. It also makes URL optional. Beyond the core elements are supplemental elements previous title optional elements, the change in name reflects the fact that different circumstances will dictate whether or not these elements are necessary for the readers. While the guideline regarding in-text citation has not changed, the MLA 9 adjusted approach seeks to reduce the confusion about in-text citation. Now, I would like to explain the need for unambiguous, consistent references to the works cited. It also expands on how to style parenthetical citation with quotation marks. A new section, when author and title are not enough, help users navigate works when an author has more than one work of the same title. Finally, expanded guidance on subheads, multiple works referencing items such as symbols or figure numbers and quoting the same passage multiple times has been added. Basically, parenthetical documentation or in-text citation means that you are telling the reader where you got any and all information that did not come from you. This is more obvious when you are directly quoting from a source, but it is also needed when you have summarized or paraphrased from a source, and even if you got an idea from somewhere else. As the name implies, you are going to put the information about the source in parentheses in the text of your paper, as opposed to a footnote where the source information is at the bottom of the page, or an endnote where it goes at the end of your paper. There are slight differences depending on which style you are using, APA or MLA. In most cases, you only need to list the author's last name and the page number where you got your information. In order to avoid plagiarism, you must cite all words, ideas that you got from somewhere else. If your quote is longer than 40 words, set it off in a block or text by beginning a new line intending 1 inch and do not add quotation marks. At the end of the quote, put the period after the last word of the sentence followed by the parenthesis. A direct quote is a word-for-word copy of the source material. The quote is enclosed in quotation marks, include the author's name and page number. Now, authors incorporated into text. Joseph Conrad writes of the company manager in Heart of Darkness. He was obeyed yet inspired neither love nor fear nor even respect. And in bracket you have seen 87 and full stop. Author after quotation. The red tree vole is a crucial part of the spotted owl's diet. Under bracket moon 15 and then full stop. The block quote is used for quotation that are longer than 4 lines of the prose or 3 lines of the verse. Do not use quotation marks. Introduce the block quote in a new line. Intend the entire quote 1 inch from the left margin. Include the page number at the end of your block quote outside of the ending period. Be sure to specify the source in the introduction phrase sentence which ends in either a colon or a period. For example, after Lord of the Flies, Ralph and other boys realized the horror of their action. The tears began to flow and sobs shook him. He gave himself up to them. Now for the first time on the island, great shuddering, a spasm of grief that seemed to wrench his whole body. His voice rose under the black smoke before the burning wreckage of the island, and infected by that emotion and other little boys began to shake and sob too. Now under bracket Golding 186. MLA requires you to include the author's name and page number. Author incorporated into text like Robert Lanes states that Oregon salmon population have dramatically declined in the past decade. 27 under bracket. Now, after paraphrase, Oregon salmon population have dramatically declined in the past decade, that is lens 27 under bracket full stop. As with all citation in MLA format, authors may be incorporated into the citation's introduction or included in parenthesis after the citation. 2-3 authors. Now, studies have shown that more and more teachers are changing career after their first year of teaching, like Posamentier, Jay and Kurlik 55 under bracket. 3+ author, let your works cited entirely choices guide your in-text citation. You may either list all known like Stutt, Smith, Cass, Round argue that language developed may also impact development in related part of the chain. 339 or name only the first author and add et al. Disambiguation of author. If you have more than one author, then the same last name, Noami Baron and Sabrina Alcon Baroni, you must eliminate any ambiguity. Do so by adding the author's first initial. If the initial is also shared, add the first full name. Example, reading is just half of literacy, the other half is writing. So, N. Veron 194, one might even suggest that reading is never complete without writing. If you cite more than one work by the author, include a shortened title for work for which you are quoting. Put short titles of books in italics. Short titles of articles should be in quotation marks. So, citing two articles by the same author, Stewart has argued that gaming is detrimental to a small children. Side effect of gaming 12, though he has written in other sources that gaming may have some benefits such as strengthening motor skills. Motor development in children 23 under bracket. Now, citing two books by the same author, Monori states that reading is a journey that varies with visualization skills. The visualization of reading 10. Furthermore, Monori points out the purpose of reading is to develop creative thinking skills that allow for future innovation. Creativity in reading and writing 18. Without mentioning the author's name in the sentence. Film studies, because it is struggling to define itself as a discipline, may be too easy and lacking value. Yellowworth, Film Studies 4 under bracket. Some sources uses paragraphs rather than page numbers. In these cases, give the relevant number or numbers preceded by the label par or pars. You could also use section or sections, SECS dot, or chapters CH dot or CHS dot. In these cases, if the author's name begins, the citation place a comma after the name. Like, for example, there is little evidence here for the claim that Egalitarian has belittled the gains of postmodernism. Chan, comma, par dot 41 under bracket full stop. If a source does not have page number of any other kind of number, no number should be given in the text in text citation. Do not count unnumbered paragraphs or other parts. As we read, we construct the terrain of the book. Hall Michel under bracket, comma, something that is more difficult when the text reflows on a screen. Division number, for example, Austen begins the final chapter of Mansfield Park with a dismissive under inverted comma, let other pains dwell, thereby announcing the decision to avoid dwelling on the professions of love made by Fanny and Edmund under inverted comma 533 semicolon volume dot vol dot 3 comma ch dot 17 bracket close full stop. Time-based media. Time-based media includes audio and video recording such as CDs, DVDs or even YouTube videos. For these sources, cite the relevant time or range of time. Give the numbers of the hours, minutes and seconds as displayed in your media player, separating the numbers with colons. For example, Buffy's promise that there is not going to be any incidents like at my school. I mean, this is under inverted comma, is obviously not one on which she can follow through. Now, under bracket, Buffy quote 00.03.16.17 bracket close. Whenever you can take material from the original sources, sometime, however, only an indirect source is available. If what you quote or paraphrase is itself a quotation, put the abbreviation quoted in, quoted in. Before the indirect source, you cite in your parenthetical reference. Now, for example, Samuel Johnson admitted that Edmund Burke was an extraordinary man. Under bracket, quoted in Boswell 2:450 inverted bracket close. This new section explains when and how to use notes to provide commentary or additional information. It also explains where and how to place notes in text. The URL or Uniform Resources Locator is the hyperlink or web address of the work you are citing. The URL always comes at the end of the reference list entry. Use if there is no DOI. Journal articles may provide a digital object identifier DOI on the first page of the article or in the article details. MLA discourages extensive use of explanatory and digressive notes. MLA style does, however, allow you to use endnote or footnote for bibliographic notes which refer to other publications your reader may consult. Now, see Blackmure, especially chapter 3 and 4, for an insightful analysis of this trend. On the problems related to repressed memory recovery, see Wallens 120 to 35 semicolon for a contrasting view, comma, see Pyle 43 semicolon Johnson, comma, Hull, comma, Cinder 21 to 35, Craig 78 to 91. Bibliographic notes can help reader keep their focus by decluttering text. Some common uses of bibliographic notes are to cite a lengthy string of sources. See Side, Culture and Imperialism and Orientalism, series The Natural Contract, Foucault, The Foucault Reader, especially Part 2. For more material related to post-colonial studies and technology, see McClintock, Imperial Leather, De Landa, War in the Age of Intelligent Machines. You can also use endnote footnotes for occasional explanatory notes, also known as content notes, which refer to brief additional information that might be too digressive for the main text. Now, in a 1998 interview, she reiterated this point even more strongly. I am an artist, not a politician. Under bracket, Weller 124. Content notes can be used to amplify. Writers may feel that amplifying certain sections of their content will allow readers to better understand the context which affects the circumstances. Kuzo and Yanagi are often confused by their misinterpretation of each other's word action interaction with others. Kuehler make it clear that literature is an institution label that gives us reason to expect that the result of our reading efforts will be worth it. And this is all quotation and the bracket in 28. MLA endnote and footnote, because long explanatory notes can be distracting to readers, most academic style guidelines including MLA, APA, American Psychological Association recommend limited use of endnote footnotes. However, certain publishers encourage or require note references instead of parenthetical references. Endnotes and footnotes in MLA format are indicated in text by superscript Arabic numbers after the punctuation of the phrase or clause to which the note refers. Some have argued that such an investigation would be fruitless. Scholars have argued for years that this claim has no basis, so we would do well to ignore it. Note that when a long dash appears in the text, the footnote endnote number appears before the dash. For years, scholars have failed to address this point, a fact that suggests that cowardice more than their carelessness. Do not use asterisks angle brackets or other system symbols for note reference. The list of endnotes and footnote, either of which the paper submitted for publication, should be listed on a separate page, should correspond to the note references in the text. Do not use the abbreviation IBID in a note to refer readers to the information provided in the note right above it. Endnote pages, MLA recommends that all notes be listed on a separate page entitled Notes, that is centered. Title the page. Note if there is only one note, the notes page should appear before the work cited page. This is especially important for papers being submitted for publication. The notes themselves should be double spaced and listed by consecutive Arabic numbers that correspond to the notation in the text. The first line of each endnote is indented 5 spaces and subsequent lines are flush with the left margin. Place a period and a space after each endnote number and then provide the appropriate note after the space. Are notes compatible with MLA style? Yes. Two kinds of notes are suitable with the parenthetical citation used in MLA style: content notes and bibliographic notes. These may be styled either as footnotes or endnotes. Content notes. Content notes offer the reader comment, explanation or information that the text can't accommodate. In general, they should be used only when you need to justify or clarify what you have written or when further amplification of your point is especially helpful. So, according to Catherine Soba Green, the courtship novel detailed a young woman entrance into society, the problem arising from that situation, her courtship, and finally her choice, almost always fortunate among suitors. Often the heroine and her eventual husband are kept apart initially by misunderstanding, by the hero's misguided attraction to another, by financial obstacles or by family objection. Now note, C Green especially 1/7 means you have to write like this, and also hint for further description and discussion of the courtship novel. Green considers Mansfield Park a courtship novel, including it in a list of such novels in the period 1740 to 1820 in bracket 163 to 64. Now digital object identifier, that is DOI, commonly shortened as DOI, were invented to give such electronic or digital item a unique persistent identifier. Any digital object can be assigned a DOI number. For example, academic journal articles, research reports, governmental reports, data sets, books, conference proceedings, code and media. How to use DOI? If your DOI is a start with http/ or http is a // simply paste it into your web browser. This will usually lead you to a journal publisher's page for the article. You can turn any DOI starting with 10 into a URL by adding http://doi.org/ before the DOI. APA format 7th edition include the DOI for all works that have one, and it goes at the end of your reference, no period at the end. Write the DOI as a hyperlinked starting with http://doi.org and /. Author A, and author BB, date of publication, full stop, then under inverted comma title of the article, then title of the journal, volume number, page range, and then http://doi.org / and then number. If your article has no DOI whatsoever, which may happen with older articles, simply omit this form from the citation. If your article include both a DOI and a URL, include only the DOI. Now, as of the most recent 9th edition, MLA encourages a student to include the DOI at the end of the citation for an online scholarly journal article. If no DOI exists, use the URL, but you must add URL. it's a good idea to check with your instructor whether they want you to include the date you accessed the article, although this is not required by MLA. MLA 9 handbook certain significantly more content than its predecessors, the 8th edition, which was released in April 2016. MLA 8 has 146 pages, whereas MLA 9 has 367. Expanded guidance on in creating MLA works, cited list and how to style citation, more detailed explanation of in-text citations, recommendations for inclusive language, hundreds of sample works cited, list entries with example of various publication formats including books, databases, websites, YouTube videos, interviews and more. Updated guideline on what constitutes plagiarism and how to avoid it. A new chapter all about how to format a research paper. New guidelines on writing including spelling, punctuation, capitalization and more. Plagiarism guideline, a chapter on notes, endnote, footnote, content note, etc. An appendix with abbreviation and example works cited, list entries. Now, certain breakdown of MLA formats are paper size, use a standard 8.5 into 11-inch paper, margin set 1-inch margin on all sides of paper, font use a legible font like Times Roman and Arial or Calibri typically in 12-point size, spacing double size all text including the title, body text and works cited page, paragraph indentation, indent the first line of each paragraph by half an inch, page number, include page number in the upper right hand corner 1/2 inch and the top and aligned with the right margin. Header and title. So, first page begin with header in the upper left corner, your name, instructor name, course and date and double space. Title, center your paper's title on the next line using title case capitalization. Running head, include your last name and page number in the upper right corner of every page. Block quotes, indent block quotes 4 lines or more of text 1 inch from the left margin. In text citation, parenthetical citation, cite sources within the text using parenthetical citation that include the author's last name and page number under bracket Smith 20 bracket close full stop. Work cited page title, center the title, work cited at the top of the page, alphabetical order, list all sources cited in your paper in alphabetical order by the author's last name, hanging indent, using a hanging indent for each entry into the work cited page, double spacing, double spaces entities in the work cited page. Annotated bibliographies, citing social media, citing works in apps and databases, citing sources. A citation is simply a reference to someone else's information used in a work, and that information can be anything from a YouTube video to a dictionary. Citations are how one gives credit to the owner of the information they are using. Failing to cite your sources or failure to them properly is considered plagiarism. The biggest difference and most exciting update is the use of one standard format of all sources types. In previous version, scholars were required to locate the citation format from the specific sources that they used. There are different formats for books, websites, periodicals and so on. Now, using one universal MLA citation format allows scholars to spend less time trying to locate the proper format to document their sources and focus more on their research. With this, I conclude the whole discussion related to MLA 9 documentation. Let us meet in some in other lecture with some other title. Till then, thank you.